She is the unlikeliest of women. She's just a girl, really, somewhere in her late teens. She's a girl in a world run by men. She is from Galilee, a mostly rural district that is far away from anything exciting. She is from Nazareth, hardly even a town. It's a small village with a few hundred residents. And she is poor, too poor in her patched homespun clothes to catch anyone's attention. Mary is a nobody from a nowhere town. Yet she is the one God chooses to birth salvation into the world. She cannot possibly know what she's agreeing to. I don't think any parent does when they take on this responsibility. You get the child you get, and before they're born, there's no telling what they will be like. Outgoing or shy, colicky or easy to soothe, hitting all their developmental milestones right on target, or worryingly slow to crawl and babble. Mary must know she's signing up for some kind of parental heartbreak. She has to. Half the children she knows died before they were 5. And often enough, she's listened to her elders worrying about their children falling in with the wrong crowd or failing to live up to their promise. But the agony of watching her child be tortured and executed, that's 30 years in the future. For now, there is the awesome task of carrying the Son of God to full term, feeding and clothing and housing him, teaching him to know and love God, forming his mind and heart and moral compass. It is a daunting prospect. You could prepare your entire life for this and not be ready. And she, Mary, the unlikeliest of women, has been chosen for it. We might wonder, what made her say yes? What gave her the courage, the audacity to trust that God really was calling her, a nobody from a nowhere town, and to agree to this impossible sounding future? Girls like Mary, girls from the wrong side of the tracks, they know their place. They know that power and advantage, a wealthy husband, the stability of stable housing and a steady income, even being noticed by the people who could give them these things, that is not for them. So Mary is perplexed when Gabriel greets her. People with money and privilege don't notice girls like her. There's no way a messenger from God would speak to her. We can imagine Mary looking over her shoulders, thinking there must be someone else in the room. Gabriel has to be talking to someone else. And when Gabriel calls her favored one and says God is with her, Mary's confusion only rises. Me? Favored by God? Really? Me? Yet, within a few minutes, she's agreeing to this wild plan. She says yes. Something has changed for Mary. In Marie Howe's poem, Annunciation, an older Mary looks back on the angel's visit to her. She muses, "Even if I don't see it again, nor ever feel it, I know it is, and that if once it hailed me, it ever does. And so it is myself I want to turn in that direction, not as towards a place, but it was a tilting within myself. As one turns a mirror to flash the light to where it isn't, I was blinded like that and swam in what shone at me, only able to endure it by being no one, and so specifically myself, I thought I'd die from being loved like that." I think Marie Howe is onto something here. God sees Mary, truly sees her in all her wondrous complexity and uniqueness. God notices the compliant exterior that hides a rebel's heart. God hears the first notes of the voice that will sing of casting down the mighty from their thrones and lifting up the lowly. God sees Mary and regards her, favors her. God shouldn't favor her. No one else does. But that doesn't matter to God. God does regard Mary. God recognizes her worth and value. God sees Mary and regards her and loves her. God can't help but love her, this marvelous creature made in God's own image, because love is not only what God does, love is who God is. And that's what makes Mary say yes. Being seen, being known, being loved. For a moment, she sees herself through God's eyes. To the world, she might be a nobody from nowhere, but to God, she is Mary of Nazareth, 5 feet or so of infinite value. Mary who is fierce and strong and compassionate and courageous. Mary who is going to change the world if she says yes. All she has to do is believe in herself a fraction of how much God believes in her. She asks Gabriel one more question. How can this be? The angel gives her one more gift, her cousin Elizabeth's miracle pregnancy. The assurance that whatever her parents and Joseph say or do, Mary will not be alone as she raises this child. Elizabeth will be with her, and they'll help each other. Gabriel reminds Mary, for nothing will be impossible with God. And as he says the words, Mary knows they are true. Who cares what anyone else thinks of her? God sees and regards and loves her. She can do this. She takes a deep breath in. For a moment, suspended in time, she can sense Gabriel and all the company of heaven holding utterly still, waiting for her answer. And Mary says, yes, I am the servant of the Lord. I live to do God's will. What happens to Mary is extraordinary. In just 3 verses of Luke's gospel, she goes from perplexed and confused to bold and daring. Yet that kind of transformation through the grace of God can happen to anyone, to everyone even. Because God sees and knows and loves each person just the same way that God sees and knows and loves Mary. This can be hard for us to accept. Often we get in our own way. We naturally focus on our shortcomings and faults. We're our own harshest critic. Voices around us, voices from our memories may tell us we will never be good enough. Nobody wants us. We have nothing to offer. We're afraid, and so we say no. No, I can't possibly do that. Angels don't visit a nobody like me. But what if Gabriel is here this morning with a message for you? Not the person sitting next to you, but you. And Gabriel says to you, rejoice, O highly favored one, for God is with you. Because God sees you, truly sees you exactly as you are in all your wondrous complexity and uniqueness. God sees you and regards you. God knows all the reasons God shouldn't, but none of that matters to God. God recognizes your worth and value. God sees you and regards you and loves you. God can't help but love you, this marvelous creature made in God's image, because love is not only what God does, love is who God is. I wonder how that knowledge of your own belovedness changes you. I wonder how it sets you free to say your own yes to God, to whatever wild, audacious thing God asks you to do to bring about the healing of the world. That, dear ones, is my prayer for you in these last few hours of Advent. Perhaps there's a lot going on, presents to wrap or tables to set, suitcases to pack or guests to welcome. Perhaps there's not enough going on, and you're just trying to get through this weekend until the holidays are over. Wherever you are on this fourth Sunday of Advent, my prayer for you is that somewhere in the next few days, you will come to know how fully God sees you, knows you, and loves you. You, the one unique, irreplaceable you, made in God's image and infinitely precious. I pray that being seen and known and loved so fully sets you free to say yes to God. And that when you look back on this Christmas many years from now, you think you'll die from being loved like that.